Welcome back to the Brands Hatch Mini Festival. We are midway through the Sanwa Trophy Mini Endurance. Heading out of the pit lane is Bradley Ellis at the wheel of number 76 car that he has just taken over from Phil Anning. Ellis should fly. The word from the pit lane as well is that Nick Padmore has decided to hand his car over and is going to be completing the whole race on his own. Meanwhile, those a little bit lower down the order also taking the opportunity to get their pit stops in. Paul Carter takes over at wheel of number 26. There is Jonathan Lewis in car 1. And Lewis from the back of the field is just clear of Mark Burnett, or was. And now Lewis rolls into the pit lane. And that looks a little bit slower than I would expect to see for Jonathan Lewis. I wonder whether or not Lewis may possibly have run into a spot of bother. If so, that would be a great pity. So with the pit stops all working themselves through the field a little bit spring at the moment as Lewis rolls down the pit lane, and that is looking very unfortunate. Also caught a glimpse in the background of Matt Jackson jumping into the 13 car. And smoke pours forth from Jonathan Lewis's car, and that, I fear, is game over for Jonathan Lewis. Great shame. The rest of the field continuing on their way. There is Mike Wilds at the wheel of the number 10 car that he's taken over from Adrian Barwick, and Mike can always be relied upon, if nothing else, for some absolutely spectacular driving. It's one of the real beauties of the Sanwa Trophy Mini Endurance is that we get to see drivers that really don't normally see in the competition, and that can always add to the fun. Into the pits as well comes Dave Mountain. Mountain, another driver you can always rely upon to go very quickly in Mini. So the Curly and Usher pit stop is concluded as Gregor Frötscher continues. Frötscher fading a little bit from good progress early on. Front of the field, for my money, still Nick Padmore, who is out front. Down the order, there are plenty of battles to resolve themselves. Dave Mountain, having been in the pits a moment ago, back out and on his way. And Mountain, one of those drivers we could expect to see, I think, picking his way up through the order as we head towards the stage of the race. Right now, here is Padmore picking his way through a little bit of traffic. This is past Carter. He's got Mark Burnett actually tucked up behind him. Burnett, though, turning very tightly through Graham Hill Bend. The car porpoising sideways a little bit and rolling to a slightly abrupt exit from Graham Hill Bend. This is a slightly difficult phase of the race on the drivers, because most mini racing you'll see the cars running in very close contention with each other, whereas in the enduro, possibly racing the clock just a little bit as well. Into the pit lane comes the number 61 entry as Curly David Usher car rolls on. It's William Ward just clear, and then we've also got the car that showed very strongly earlier on, Nick Paddy having taken over from Bill Solis at the back of the queue. Solis having raced that car right up to the front of the field. Nick Paddy, there he is with a little bit more work to do, but you can see the tail of the Solis Paddy car had the yellow stick with the black cross. That means, or rather it denotes, a novice driver, and so Nick Paddy taking his formative steps in motorsport in a absolutely legendary car here at Brands Hatch. There is Paddy now turning through Surtees on towards Clearways and Clark Curve. Front just sliding a little bit as Paddy looks to wind up the pace coming out of Clark Curve along the Bradford Straight. We are beginning to get as well deep into this race. And this is where each and every time they go past the lap counter, they'll see how much time is remaining and know just how hard they can push. Up Halewood Hill in towards Druids. So just behind that is Jackson at the wheel of the 13 car. Jackson, better known for his exploits in the British Touring Car Championship, taken over from Jason Brooks mid-race. Jackson looking to side his way through the field. Of course, the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, the scene of some of Jackson's greatest touring car triumphs, as he jinks to the inside. Gets the car squared off, doesn't run too sideways there, does Matt Jackson. And it is then Curly David Usher, the next target, as they run along the Brabham Straight. How late is Jackson going to be on the brakes? Which side does he go? He finds space to the inside of Matt Jackson. Jinks through to the inside. Gains the position. Meanwhile, Gregor Frötscher coming under just a little bit of pressure as we move into the last stage of the race. Nick Padmore it is who leads the way. Bradley Ellis it is who has come up into second place, and Mike Wild, taking over from Adrian Barwick, is also making fantastic progress. He is currently in a fairly secure third place. Gregor Frötscher consults his mirrors, moves across and defends, but only just. The two of them running through Druids and gaining the place. Very nicely done, but Frötscher looks to fight back as they run downhill into Graham Hill Bend. And that's a lovely shot. Gregor Frötscher leading his helmet almost Jonna Lacey style through Graham Hill Bend, but I think it's going to cost him the place, unfortunately. He gets demoted. Now, whether or not he'll be able to fight back, we will find out in due course. Frötscher just gets it a little bit sideways through Clark Curve on to the Brabham Straight. Rapidly running out of laps here. Yes, there you see, just a couple of laps remaining. Then, meanwhile, here is Nick Padmore, and this has been a perfectly controlled race from Padmore. That early excellent scrapping with Bill Solis has now played itself out into a very, very comfortable lead late on. He accelerates out of Clark Curve along the Brabham Straight now. Across the line for Nick Padmore, down into Paddock Hill Bend. Just picks up the throttle, climbing Halewood Hill. Doesn't want to get too involved in the traffic around him at the same time. Doesn't really want to have to back out of the concentration at all either. So he puts a lap on the number 99 car before swooping through Graham Hill Bend. And then along the Cooper Straight, just easing up through the gears, flicking into Surtees. On towards Clearways, what I suspect is going to be the final time of asking. Just a little bit of a slide on the apex, but these minis really, they look at their very, very best when going sideways, as now Nick Padmore accelerates along the Brabham Straight. Now, is the checker flag going to be out this time? Indeed it is, and victory in the Sanwa Trophy Mini Endurance to Nick Padmore. Still a couple of fights left to resolve themselves for Nick Padmore. An absolutely perfect performance. Let's take a look then at the classification. Victory for Padmore, second place for Bradley Ellis and Phil Anning, and third to Adrian Barwick and Mike Wilds. An excellent drive from Matt Jackson to bring himself up into fourth place.
Well, Nick, congratulations. First place, best place to finish.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Very lucky. Steve let me do the race by myself because he hurt his neck yesterday in a roll. So, yeah, it was all left to me to get on with it, and it was brilliant. I just love these cars. They're so much fun.
Yeah, what is it about these cars? Every driver that gets out of one of these cars just has the biggest grin on their face.
They're just funny. I think the hardest thing about driving these cars is you can't stop laughing. And once you start laughing, you just lose the concentration. So you really got to focus on they're just sideways everywhere. You're just looking through the passenger window, your side windows, everything.
Well, Phil, second place, a great way to end the weekend.
Absolutely. It's a shame that we couldn't carry on and hang in there for a win, but we did what we could, and excellent, really good. Couldn't ask for much more, really.
And another good result for you today, Bradley. But there was a little incident out there with the ignition, I believe.
Yes, yeah. I went over a curb and then the car died, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I looked down and the ignition switch was down, so I flicked that back on and carried on. But at that point, Nick had already just driven past me, so I was like, oh well, never mind, I'll try and hang on to him.
Well, a podium position to finish the weekend. It's pretty good stuff, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's actually my first time I've been in my Mini. Yeah, I've never driven one before, so there's no expectations. Obviously, I invited Michael on to give me a hand, especially in this sort of two-driver race. And it couldn't have ended better, really. Well, it could have been Bradley, but that's kind of everything in life.
No, exactly. Now, Mike, we spoke to you earlier on, and you were very excited to be out in the Mini. Did it live up to your expectations during the race?
Oh yeah, and more. I had a smile. It probably doesn't look like it if anybody took any pictures, but inside I was just beaming for both races. Just really enjoyed it. Can't thank Aiden and the boys enough for looking after me. It's sensational to feel so welcome, to have a car that smiles with you, and as I said when I spoke to you before, I really got to do this again.
Well, that was a really entertaining race from the Sanwa Trophy Mini Endurance. You heard it yourself, the car that makes the drivers laugh as they go around the circuit here. It really was great stuff. I hope you've enjoyed it. But from everybody here at the Mini Festival and Brands Hatch, it's goodbye for now.